Welcome to Leesburg's Parks and Recreation Show. I'm your host, Claudia Verga. Today we're at the beautiful Venetian Gardens on Lake Harris, here with Jennifer Magavro, Leesburg's Assistant Director of Parks. We're going to talk about fishing, where you can get your biggest bass, and later we'll talk about the popular Trash to Treasure program. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Claudia.
So we're going to talk some fishing today.
Oh yeah, we're in the right spot to do it.
Yeah. So what would be one of the first things that you would tell us about the importance of fishing?
Well, first off, you're in the right state to do it. Florida leads the nation in every statistic that has to do with fishing. Most fishing licenses sold, that's saltwater and freshwater. Most tourist tax dollars spent on fishing, most hotel room nights spent on fishermen fishing. The list goes on and on. Everything that has to do with fishing and money generated from it, Florida leads the country, which is pretty crazy because, you know, the state of California's got a lot more coastline than we do. Just something about Florida, we've got such a varied habitat for the different fish that you can catch. There's something that can appeal to anybody, you know, be it salt or fresh water.
So fishing is great for our economy here.
It's wonderful for our economy. And you know, Leesburg, we're pinched between Lakes Griffin and Lake Harris, so you don't get much more water access than we do here.
Fantastic. What type of fish can we find?
Here in the Harris chain of lakes, we've got the largemouth bass, warmouth. We've got the speckled perch, people refer to them as specks, crappie, and then there's always, you know, catfish and your sunfish, other types of panfish.
And crappie. I've never heard of that fish before.
It's the speckled perch. It's also called crappie.
Oh, it's called two names.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty popular sport fish. They're smaller than the largemouth bass, but people have a great time catching them. They put up a pretty good fight.
And do they eat those?
Yes, they do. They're supposed to be very tasty.
Okay. And the largemouth bass is very popular.
Oh, exceedingly popular. And that's not just for the state of Florida. That's nationwide. It's one of the most popular sport fish for freshwater fishing. You know, and a lot of that is because it's such a ubiquitous fish. I mean, you've got it in 48 of the 50 states. It can inhabit a variety of habitats. You've got it in deep water and shallow water, vegetated waters, non-vegetated waters. They just seem to proliferate everywhere. They're easy to stock if you want to introduce them to your ponds. They do well, but mostly they're just a great fighting fish. I've never actually eaten bass. I've been told it's very good as well. It's got good table fare.
Now, they don't come in and eat up other fish. You know, sometimes when you introduce a fish and they're not from the area, they usually take out the natural population.
They
bass do that?
Voracious eaters, but they're a native species. So it's fine, that's their role. A lot of times they come in and, you know, you introduce them to your pond. They'll come in and they'll eat a lot of your smaller fish, but that's, you know, that's why they're there. That's why the bluegill are so prolific, because they feed a lot of the bass. That's where having the vegetation really helps out, because it hides those little fish until they're big enough to try and get away. But the vegetation just draws in that bass because they know there's all that food in there.
Okay, that makes sense. Areas to fish in Leesburg.
Oh gosh, I mean, where isn't there to fish? Here in Venetian Gardens, we've just got tons of fishing opportunity. You know, it's a 60-some acre park. So all of the coastline, I mean, if you look out now, there's at least, gosh, 10 guys fishing who've gotten off of work today just having a ball. We've got the boat docks. We've got the one here at the Venetian Gardens boat ramp. We've got Singletary Park and Hurlong. There's fishing piers at both of those parks as well. So there's plenty of fishing opportunity.
What about permits? Do you need a permit to fish?
You do need a license. There's a couple of exceptions to needing a fishing license, and it has to be specific to fresh water. There's fresh and saltwater licenses. The few exceptions where you don't need a license is if you are over the age of 65 and in the county of your residence. You can fish without a license, and if you use a fishing device, a pole, without a reeling device or a handheld line, and use natural bait. It's a lot to remember, I know, but you don't need a license if you do that. And if that's too much for you to remember and you're not real sure if you want to take up fishing, every year the state does free fishing days, and they allocate 2 days for saltwater and 2 days for freshwater fishing, where everybody can just go out and fish and not worry about a license. For fresh water, it's the first Saturday of April and the first Saturday of June. And historically, that's when it is every year.
Okay. And then you could just show up to any local park
Wherever you want.
and,
Public waters, you know, where they allow fishing.
okay.
Don't go on other people's property. They don't like that.
No, not so much. I
No.
wouldn't mind, but to each its own, right?
Exactly.
Is there an age limit to it?
Not really. It's for all ages. What I love to see most of all out here is when mothers and fathers bring their kids out. We get a lot of grandparents introducing the little ones to the sport, because it is a good way to recreate, and it's a good way to teach appreciation for nature, and what you can gather from it. So I think it's just a real good experience to share with the kids. But yeah, it's pretty ageless. I mean, we have a lot of the retirees who come out here as well. They pull up a chair and sit back and fish all day. I'm actually kind of jealous.
Me too. I'd fish all day too. Look how beautiful and
It's just
serene it is
gorgeous,
here.
gorgeous.
So relaxing. Now, back to the fishing permits. Is it a family permit, a one-person permit? If I'm out with my child, do I need to have a permit for him and myself?
You don't, and I did forget to include that. Thank you. Under the age of 16, you don't need a license, but it is an individual license for yourself. You can't license your whole family, but you know, if the kids are under 16, they don't need a license.
So my son could come down and fish anytime he wants because he's
Definitely.
13.
Exactly. Yeah, he's good.
Okay. And if I accompany him, then I would need the fishing license.
Yes, you would.
And how much does that usually run about?
Oh, I believe sometimes it goes up every couple of years. I believe it's right in the range of $15 to $17.
Okay. So, and it's good for a year.
Yes.
So that's not so bad.
No, it's
Family
not.
entertainment.
It's not, and all of that money goes towards restoring or acquiring state lands for public use. So it
goes back into the
yeah,
community.
exactly. It goes right back into where it needs to be used.
Okay. So, all right, now we have our fishing license. We have a beautiful lake. We're ready to fish. What am I putting on the hook?
Oh, that's as varied. Oh, you should talk to these guys around here, because everybody has a different strategy, and they work, because I see the fish they pull out of here. A lot of people like to use the live bait. You know, they use the worms, or they use shrimp, or they use small fish, or they use cut bait, which is where you take a live fish and cut it up and throw it back in. A lot of people like using the artificial lures, and there's such a wide variety where they imitate different frogs and how the worms move, and everyone's got a different movement, and then everyone's got a different technique, and it's really something that a lot of fishermen personalize. They come up with a style or what their grandfather or father taught them that works.
I've heard of raw, like biscuit dough. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, yes I have. I've heard corn, hot dogs. Like I said, everybody's got a technique, and I think it all works.
It all works.
You just got to get out there and try it.
Yeah. If they're hungry, they'll eat.
Exactly.
Is that the philosophy?
If they're hungry, they'll eat.
What about if you're not going to use the fish to consume it?
That's called catch and release. And a lot of fishermen are actually going towards that, because they realize, there's not an everlasting amount of fish. I mean, there is a finite amount, and they want to try and keep them there for future generations. We've had in the past with the Lake Harris chain where our bass populations did dwindle because of mismanagement of the lakes and vegetation and whatnot. Now those numbers are back up, but it really served to remind people that we've got to preserve something that's important to us. So a lot of the people where it's not real important if they eat the fish, I know my husband and I, we fish a lot, and he doesn't even like to eat fish. They catch and release. So it's just the fun of fighting it, and then you get to let it go, which is great, especially if it's a really big one. You want to get those genetics back out there.
Right. And you want to take a picture.
Oh, you
so
always
it's not
got to.
the one that gets
yeah.
away, right?
I don't know. The biggest ones I hear are from stories, not from pictures. So maybe you don't want to take pictures. I don't know.
Then there's no proof.
That's maybe a good thing for some of the fishermen then.
And I wonder, do you know if that hurts the fish when you catch and release them?
Not usually, no. With the technology, with the hooks and the artificial lures, they've got certain characteristics where it doesn't tear the mouth tissue. We use a lot of circle hooks. It goes into the corner of the mouth and curls up, so all you do is you pull it back out. It leaves a little hole that heals up.
Because I always worry about that when I see people do that. I'm like,
know.
I don't know, but that's good to hear. Now I don't feel so bad about it.
No, most of the time it's the circle hooks or it's lures with similar technology that doesn't tear up their mouths.
Okay, so we've talked about hooks and we've talked about bait. What about some extra tips if we want to catch the big one?
Okay. Well, there's 3 different ways to look at it. One is time of day. And fish like to feed a lot at dusk and dawn. It triggers feeding behavior, and that's when they're going to bite more. They bite pretty much throughout the day because everything eats, pretty much all the time. I'd die if I only ate twice a day. But that's when the bigger bite is dusk and dawn, so if you want to target those times. Another way to target that is with a weather front. If you've got a weather front coming in like we do now,
Right.
It's a great time to get out there, which is probably why all these gentlemen are out here. They know the bite's on, the atmospheric pressure, animals feel it, the fish feel it. The instinct is to go ahead and feed heavily. Then while the front is going on, they just kind of back off, rest it out. Then if it's a prolonged front, once it's over, weather's fair again, a lot of times they'll feed again then too. So if you can try to time it with any weather events. And then third of all, which is very popular with saltwater fishing because it's so tidal, is moon phases. With full and new moons, you get the biggest pull on your tides. You get higher high tides, lower low tides. So you want to try and target that because water movement is what will trigger the fish to feed. I'm sure to a degree you get that with the freshwater bodies too. Even though they don't have tides, there's still ebb and flow and all that.
Okay. Now, if I want to get a permit to fish here in Lake County, where would I go?
Oh, you can go to any of the sports stores, such as Walmart or Sports Authority. They sell those there, sporting goods stores, bait shops. But the easiest way for me that I do is I do it online. FWC, which is the Florida Fish and Game Commission, they have their own website. You can do it right online. There's a little box that says buy licenses. You click on that, you put in your info. Also, there's a 1-800 number you can call, and it's 24 hours a day that you can get your license on through the phone as well, and they'll mail you your license.
Okay, and then you should carry that with you when you're fishing?
Yeah, you always need to have it with you. If you are one of the people exempt, say you're over the age of 65 and you're fishing in the county of your residence, you should also have your identification to prove, yes, I am a resident of Lake County.
Okay. Anything else that you could tell us about?
I think that about covers it, Claudia.
I want to know where our poles are.
I forgot to bring them.
Dang it.
We'll do it next time, though.
We'll definitely do it next time. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jennifer.
No problem, Claudia.
Florida offers over 70 different varieties of seafood, so that gives you endless possibilities to create some amazing dishes. First, let's start with these Florida stone crab claws. Their sweet meat goes great with this orange marmalade and horseradish sauce. Or how about these large Gulf shrimp with sweet corn and red pepper and cilantro oil? And you can't go wrong with Florida grouper, especially when it's paired with snap beans and sweet pepper relish. For these Florida seafood recipes and many more, go to freshfromflorida.com.
Now joining us is Marcus Nyblack, Athletics Supervisor, to talk about Trash to Treasure. Welcome, Marcus.
Well, thank you.
So when is Trash to Treasures this year?
Trash to Treasure this year is March the 9th. Saturday, March the 9th.
Saturday, March the 9th.
Yes.
And for those who don't know what Trash to Treasure is yet, what is Trash to Treasure?
Trash to Treasure is the most organized yard sale or garage sale that we could put together for the entire community. It's an opportunity for you to bring anything to you that has value that you don't need anymore, put it on a table and put a price tag to it and give somebody else the opportunity to use something that would probably serve them as well as it served you.
Fantastic. How many tables are there?
There is a total of exactly 99 tables. We're probably going to put one more out to make it 100, but in our registration, there's actually 99 tables available.
And what size are the tables?
I want to say they're 8-foot tables.
8-foot tables?
Yes.
And is there a fee for participating?
Yes, each table has a $10 fee associated with it. And that includes a table and 2 chairs.
Okay, and then they come and they put their stuff out and then people come and shop.
And people come and shop.
That sounds good to me.
Yes.
Saves me some gas, right?
Yes.
Driving around to different garage sales. What time does it start?
Trash to Treasure starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's over at 1 p.m. that afternoon.
So if I was a vendor, if I had a table, what time would I have to be there to set up, to be ready?
You can come in as early as 6 o'clock and set up your equipment to be prepared for the 8 o'clock start.
Okay, I have a lot of stuff. I want more than one table. Can I?
Yes, you can buy as many tables as you need.
Okay. And what happens if I have something larger than that can fit on the table? What do you do to accommodate that?
You could still buy a table, but what we would do if you don't actually need the table, you would just have a space, and that item would be placed in that space where your table would be, and you could hang some things, you could bring in some racks, whatever is more convenient for you, but you still be allowed to use a space.
A 8-foot space.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And where is Trash to Treasures? Where does it take place?
Trash to Treasure this year is at the community building, Venetian Gardens, and it's been there for the past 4 or 5 years. We've only moved it once, but it's located at Venetian Gardens at our community building, the Leesburg community building.
So why is Trash to Treasures so important for our community?
The reason Trash to Treasure, it holds a purpose that a lot of people don't know about, and that purpose is all of the proceeds that we receive from the table purchases for Trash to Treasure actually go to one of our youth sports programs to assist in kids participating in a youth sport, which is basketball.
So it's the basketball program is
Yes,
what it
ma'am.
supports.
Yes,
So that's a very important reason to come out and support Trash to Treasure
yes,
and find something that you might need, right?
yes.
Or want.
I've found a lot of things that I could use.
See, is that what happens? You go
Yes.
there and you
Yes,
you go
and I
home.
end up filling up my car with some things that I can use.
So who could participate at the event?
Anybody. Trash to Treasure is open for anyone who has items that they want to sell, or actually anyone that buys a table. There are some limitations. We don't allow food and certain other items like weapons, guns, that type of thing. But anyone could purchase a table if they have some legal items to sell.
Legal items.
Legal items.
If I want to purchase tables, notice I said tables, or
Yes.
any table, or participate in the event, how do I sign up?
You would come to our rec office, which is at 1851 Griffin Road, which is the new Leesburg Community Gym. And you would come in. If you don't have a household already, you create one. You take a look at the map to see where the tables are and which tables are still available. Then you point out 2 tables that you could use. You would pay your money for those 2 tables, or however many tables you need, and we would put your name in there, and you'd be marked down on those tables. And on the day of the event, your name or your number would be taped to each table, so you know exactly where you are, you know where you're set up at, and everything.
That sounds fantastic. Now, can I sign up till the last minute?
You can sign up all the way up until the last table is sold.
Okay. So if the last table's sold and it's sold out
You're sold
a month
out.
in advance, you're sold out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got it. And what are some of the craziest things that you've seen sold?
I've actually possibly done school shopping for my kids at Trash to Treasure. I mean, there was a table last year. I can just speak on last year. There was a table last year that had some of the best clothes that you'd ever want to buy, and they were selling them for little of nothing. What the reason was, I have no idea. There's some great toys, fishing equipment, microwaves. I've seen it all. I mean, I've seen pets. I've had people actually sell cars to buy pets, puppies, dogs, all kinds of things. So there's a little bit of everything at Trash to Treasure.
It sounds like a great event. You can give back to the community, purchase some items you may need, get rid of some items you may not want, earn some money for yourself.
Yes,
How does it get better than that?
at all. I mean, it's a well-advertised event. So, I mean, it would actually be, if you're thinking about doing a garage sale or a yard sale, this is better. This is better. And most of the tables are indoors, and they all have a cover over them. So even the tables that are outside have a roof over the top and are covered. So the weather's not going to stop us. So regardless of the situation, you could sell your items.
Rain or shine,
Rain, sleet, or snow.
this will go on.
Yes.
And how many people do you normally have from last year's event? How many people do you think attended that event?
Last year possibly could have been the most attended event that we've had since we've done it. There might have been 800 or 900 people come throughout the day just to view the items at the event. I mean, it was pretty large.
Yeah, that is very large. Well, that sounds like a great deal. And I'm looking forward to this year's event. Thanks for coming down and sharing that information with us today.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll see you next time on Leesburg's Parks and Recreation Show.